Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Market Trade Show. My name is Tony Mizell, and we talk on this show about parent entrepreneurs making it out there and might give some useful advice to other parents that are looking to do the same as well. And on the show today, I have my dear friend, Dana Nagel, who is a financial coach, and she is going to be explaining the different parts of how she got to being into that field and how you can possibly be one as well. So with further ado, I'm so excited to have my dear friend Dana on the show. Dana, how are you today?
Hello, Tony. Hello, everyone. I am doing excellent. Thank you for having me on the show today.
I'm so glad you're here. It's going to be really fun. To start out, can you just tell us a little bit about your background, why you wanted to get into finances, and what brought you to being a financial coach? What gravitated to where you are now?
Yeah, sure thing. So essentially, I went to school to study financial economics. I literally went to school to study it because as most people that go to college, right, we want to have a profession that's going to let us make a lot of money. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to study finance. And I started working in finance straight out of school. So over like 15 years experience working in finance until 2018 when I decided to essentially fire my boss, right? I resigned from corporate America, resigned from finance. And it was really in that time I was kind of thinking like, what's going to be the next step? What's going to be my next journey? And through some self-discovery, I thought about coaching. So I have worked in finance for a really long time, but not on the education side of it. So I took some classes. I started, researching and getting certified in order to be a financial educator. And then I started coaching people on how to really manage their finances and build wealth.
Oh, that's great. And can you tell me, when you were going through your journey, what was like one of the toughest struggles that you had to do as far as with coaching?
I would say just in terms of toughest struggles, not so much for coaching, but toughest struggles, I think going into business for yourself, right? Because working as an employee, is so much different than being a business owner. It's just so much different. And just in terms of even being a business owner and being a coach, it's so much more mindset than anything else, right? So when you're working as an employee, it's really kind of task related, getting the job done, making sure that the numbers match, doing what you need to do. So much task oriented. But when you're a business owner, when you're a coach, it's so mindset oriented. So really understanding why people do the things they do, just learning kind of limiting beliefs and how to break those limiting beliefs is so much different in terms of what you would think that you would be dealing with is, I think, kind of almost less about the numbers when you're dealing with coaching and when you're dealing with people than it is mindset. Like mindset, I think, was so huge where I didn't think, initially it would be so much about mindset. I thought it would be more like the numbers. Okay, people really want to know how to make more money. But even in making more money, sometimes people still have those bad habits. So really kind of dealing with mindset, I think is just huge, really.
And with the coaching or the mindset, well, you and I've talked that one, so we've definitely talked about the mindset aspect a lot. And when you figured out your mindset that you wanted to be a coach and you saw that being in your future, how did that make you feel?
I think in terms of, since you see that it's so mindset driven, I think it really had me work a lot on my own mindset and kind of asking me those same questions that I would need to ask my own students and my own clients. So I do a lot of mindset work on myself, even get like my own coaching, because I know the numbers part, right? I can tell you how to budget. I can tell you how to invest. I could, look at a spreadsheet. I could do the analytics. That's my jam. But in terms of mindset, I had to even learn more that about myself and kind of what that journey is, so I could be able to coach people even better because I understood what they were feeling on a psychological level more.
I like the psychological level part because I feel like psychology is such a huge part when it comes to coaching, and I'm pretty sure over your course and time as well, you've learned the same as well. And for coaching coming up, there's a lot of regulations when it comes out to coaching, or there's been a lot of misinformation of like, why should I be coaches, and coaches have done this and this, and it's really shifting a lot. So with the shift of being a coach, where do you see yourself in the future of coaching? Do you think you'll permanently stay in the coaching realm?
Um, Possibly. And the reason because of that is I think, more so the more importance of coaching is also really to help guide my students and my clients and give them some accountability, right? Because at the end of the day, you can read something, you can read a book, you can watch the videos, but really getting that motivation and having that accountability from someone else that's going to really kind of help guide you and walk you through it and understand those challenges that you're going to hit, is also really important because it's really difficult to stay motivated. It's really difficult to sometimes keep going, especially when you make a mistake or a situation happens that give you a setback. So I think in terms of coaching, it really helps with people to keep them motivated, to keep them accountable, to make sure that they stay the course. So I think there will always probably still be an aspect in my business of what I'm doing, even as I move more towards classes and trainings, to really have that coaching aspect to really help walk people through and keep them accountable and help them at whatever stages that they may be at.
Stage helping is always great because we're always in a different stage of life, which is great. I mean, that's how we met, right? And a little bit of backstory between Tina and I is she's such a great person. And when her and I first met and we started coaching and things of that nature, she just was such a very bright and intelligent person. It was People are naturally drawn to her, not only because of her financial background, but just because she's just a good person as well. And when we started talking about her journey for coaching, it was really good to see how attuned she was to not only herself but to other people. And that's why I always appreciated about you too, Diana. So a little backstory for our audience who don't know Diana as well as I do. Super awesome to work with as well. And well, going to the parts of struggles from back then to now, being a parent entrepreneur, because as you know, in the coaching space, a lot of us, we're into some coaches that, they might be a life coach when they're 18 years old. And I think you and I had talked about something like that as well, where it's like, how can you teach me about life when you're 18? And that's why we gravitated to, parent entrepreneurs and why that's such a hard niche. But what is one of your greatest struggles that you have had being a parent owner, a parent entrepreneur, and balancing your business being a parent?
Well, first, thank you, Tony, for all those great accolades and me being a great person. I appreciate that. I think one of the biggest challenges of being a parent entrepreneur, one is it's kind of like a misconception because you work from home that you're just available, right? People think you're home, you're available, you're free, you can talk, you can go out, you can do this, but you're running a business, right? You're a CEO. You don't call the CEO of any company, right? You don't call the CEO of Citibank, or Citicorp and just assume that they're free because they're a CEO. So I think really managing your time and balancing your time is one of the biggest biggest struggles from being a entrepreneur and being a parent, because you're home and your children are home and there's just so much to do, right? You're running a business, you have children to feed, you have homework to do, you have classwork to do, you have children to run to school or run to practice, you have dishes in the sink, you have laundry to do. And because you are home, there's just this misconception that you could just do it all because you're home, but you're home, right? Why can't you do it? And it's like when you're at a job, right? Like when I was in corporate America, I worked crazy hours. I was, out of the house at 7 o'clock, not back in a lot of times to 8 o'clock. And it was expected I was at work. I was working, right? No one was saying I have to cook because I'm at work. No one was saying I have to do dishes because I'm at work. I have to do laundry because I'm at work. But because I'm home, there is that thought process, well, you're home. Can't you just do all those things? So just really trying to manage your time because you're balancing so much more. So you really have to have these boundaries in place and these work hours, right? Well, between this time and this time I'm working on this, I'm going to be uninterrupted. So really kind of setting boundaries, setting a work schedule and managing your time is major.
Yes, managing yourself is definitely a good establishment to have, since as you know, being a parent, time isn't fully always that manageable because the drop of the dime is like, come get me. Right, like you're talking about before. I need to do this stuff right now. And with it being a parent entrepreneur, if those of you that are watching the show right now, if you can relate to the 9 to 5 and you want to get the heck out of the help with finances, comment below 9 to 5. 9 to 5, right? Because if you're there and you're working corporate right now, this is definitely the person to speak to on how to get out of that type of environment. But going back to what we were talking about as well, for the parent entrepreneur part, when you have all those different aspects pulling at you and tugging at your time, what do you think was probably one of the most pivot moments where you're actually in your work when you were doing the corporate part compared to now that makes you more appreciative of now compared to that?
Well, when I was working in the corporate space, like I said, I didn't have a regular 9 to 5 because I worked like 50, sometimes 60-hour work weeks. And I wasn't really in control of my time. I had paid time off, right? Like PTO days, but that had to be approved. And I couldn't always get what I needed when I needed it. I have 2 children. So sometimes there were parents' meetings, there were sick days, there were all kind of things where I couldn't be available, right? There's things that happen in the middle of the day, whether it be a school play or a potluck or anything in school where I couldn't be available for. So being an entrepreneur now, I'm available for all the things, right? Like there's something at 11 o'clock, okay, I can make time in my schedule to be there. You get sick and I need to pick you up, okay, I'm gonna do that. And I don't have that same guilt, right? That, oh, I can't do it. I have to call someone to come do it. Or if I leave my job, now they're kind of side eyeing me because I had to leave early because I have a sick kid, or I have to call out because I have a sick kid. So there's just so much more freedom and flexibility being an entrepreneur than being an employee, right? So if you have to like leave late, leave early, you have your coworkers or your employees kind of side eyeing you, right? Because a lot of times some of them don't have children, or if they do have children, maybe they have mother-in-laws who watch their children or nannies or something like that. So I was a single mom at the time. So I had to rely on, maybe sometime grandparents picking up my kids in an emergency, or I had to leave, right? I have to go. So it's just kind of like some of that guilt, I think, of being a working professional and not being able to do all the things are now eliminated as a business owner because I can be there for everything now.
And as a parent entrepreneur, what's one of your proudest moments being we should call it parentrepreneur. Parentrepreneur. Mix it up. What is one of your proudest moments being a parent and business owner?
Well, one of my proudest moments in terms of like on my students and my client side is when they shared their wins with me and their successes with me and how I'm, impacting their life for the better, whether they're through their investing or their money habits that they were able to learn, that they were able to start businesses or travel or leave their jobs. Like all of those things are like major for me, right? Like I love to hear those things like that. And also for the personal life, just like my children, my children are now getting more excited about money. Like my daughter talks about starting businesses, and she likes to haggle for when she does something. She's trying to earn money because I teach her, like, you don't make money, right? We're not money making machines, we earn money. So she thinks of ways that she can earn money. She likes to get started in investing and doing certain things. She's saving, and she's 8. So when she has those conversations with me, it kind of makes me feel like, oh, I guess I'm doing something right, right? So just from my students sharing their success stories and just seeing my own children really talk about business or talk about money at this age, right, is really rewarding.
Now, we're going to rewind back to the past again, is what would you have liked to know before starting on this journey, starting your business? And what would you have liked to know then that you now know now?
I would say, kind of going back to the mindset part of it, how huge mindset is going to be on everything, right? Because we have so many limiting beliefs, and sometimes we just have so many expectations and we don't know how to get there, right? When you think of starting a business, sometimes you don't know all the challenges that you're going to face. And I think every probably new business owner, you're facing a lot of challenges in the beginning. You're putting in a lot of time, and you're not seeing sometimes that compensation for all the hours and time that you're putting in the beginning, right? But you kind of have to do that sweat equity in the beginning and kind of like that grind work. And as time go on, like all the pieces start coming together, but you kind of have to like push through. You have to push through the mental blocks, saying like, maybe this isn't it, maybe you should stop, maybe this isn't working. And you have to really surround yourself with like-minded people. And those like-minded people may not be your typical friends that you're with now, may not be the family members, right? Because a lot of people feel like, oh, my friends and family should support me. And that support may not come from them. If it does, that's great. But if it doesn't, that doesn't mean quit on your business. It doesn't mean quit on your dream. It just means find your tribe, right? So it's really important to find your tribe and find those like-minded people that's really going to help you stay motivated, help you stay accountable, push you forward, because most of it is just a lot of mental blocks, and you just got to go through kind of that grind in the beginning of learning things, right? Because you'll realize there's a lot that you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know in the beginning until you get to it. So kind of just having a network of like-minded people, having people that can keep you accountable, possibly having a coach, because a lot of it is going to be mental work, and you want to be around people who are where you want to be, right? So you can kind of like glean maybe what they're doing, because success leaves clues.
I love that response. That's great. And I'm like, which clues did you learn from AT? No, I'm kidding. But now, taking back even further before you started your business, what would you like to know before becoming a parent?
What would I like to know before becoming a parent? I think, how people always say there's definitely no book that you get when you become a parent, right? They don't hand you a handbook at the hospital that says, here's everything that you need to know. So there's a lot that you don't know, and you kind of got to give yourself some grace, right? For like, we're all just figuring this out. And I think it's really important to not lose yourself, because I think it's expected, especially as a woman, it's just expected that your children is going to take over your life, right? That's your new title now. You're a mom, you live for your kids, that's what you do. And for people, especially for people like myself, who's really motivated, who's really driven, I still needed to have something else, right? I can't just give up on being me, Tay Donna, right? I was Tay Donna, a whole person living my life before these little people came out. So kind of still making time for me, making sure that I'm good, making sure that I'm doing those things that make me happy, making sure I have mom time, time with my friends, still taking care of my responsibilities, still taking care of my children. But you can't lose yourself in the process, because you got to make sure that you fill yourself up and fill your cup up. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I think giving yourself that grace and space and that permission to still have you, right? Not lose yourself in the process, still make time for you, still find time to do those things that make you happy. Because if you're happy, your parenting is going to be better, right? If you're happy, you're going to be able to pour more happiness into your family. So not getting so overwhelmed where the focus is just 100% on your children and you lose yourself in the process.
Yes, don't let the symbiote of family take you over. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to be Coach Venom today, I promise. But that's a great response. Is to those that are watching the show currently right now, is make sure not to lose yourself, because you're a person before, you're a person after. And Deanna's definitely right what you're saying. You kind of, when you have kids, you're making your own little tribe. Isn't that great? You make your own little people, right? That's what you said. Make your own little duplicates so you can create your own tribe in that aspect. And going on your path, so now you went through the business and you're balancing your business, being a parent as well. What important life lessons have you learned from either personally or for someone else about finance? What would be 3 important lessons that you've learned?
So some really important lessons that I was taught this from my mom, like very early on, as early as I can even remember, probably before I had a job or as soon as I had a job, was pay yourself first. My mom always told me that, right? So the importance of that is just making sure that you're always putting some money aside for your future self, right? For saving. So she meant specifically for saving, right? Making sure that you're putting money aside for saving. So I've always done that. I've always made sure that as soon as I got paid, right? It wasn't just for the bills, for paying something. I made sure that money was transferred to savings. And as I grew, right, I knew that I also had to pay myself first in investing. So I always make sure that I save. I always make sure that I invest whatever amount of money that I have, right? So it's pretty much the consistency that matters, right? You want to make sure that you're consistent. So you have this kind of like automation going, right? So it becomes a habit now. Also, I would say kind of always be investing. I know a lot of people feel like they have to have a certain amount of money to invest. If they don't have a lot of money, they can't do it. They're waiting. But you can invest with $5 a week if that's what you have, right? Make sure that your money is working hard for you. If you're not investing it, it's sort of kind of like you're not putting money aside for your future self. So start with whatever you have and just make an automation of doing it. And I would say also kind of like start early. I started early. Not everyone starts early, but I think when you start early, you really have time on your side. You don't necessarily want to wait until you get, you're getting nearer to retirement age to start thinking about how you're going to survive during retirement. So I think the earlier you start, the better, but also better late than never, right? So even if you didn't get a chance to start early, I wouldn't say, just forget about it. It's too late. Better late than never, definitely.
And for the better late than never questions, might as well throw out there as well. What if a person is struggling? It's a holiday season. People are going to be struggling financially. We have just the pandemic recently. We have a new strand coming out. Finances are tight for a lot of people on there. What are 3 financial tips that you could give people currently right now to increase their revenue very quickly if they're in this type of situation?
So like I said, investing is definitely one way to increase your revenue quick. it is not a get rich quick scheme, right? It's not that you put 100 in, you get 10,000 out overnight. It doesn't work like that. Investing is definitely going to be a way to grow your money more quickly than a lot of things. Also, I would say finding what you're really good at, right? Maybe you can do a little side hustle on the side. I think 2020, 2021 have got people to be really creative and figuring out how could I get extra money. I think we're in a time where it's really easy to try to get some cash, right? What can you do? What skill do you have? There's a lot of people that would pay for different things. There's people who would pay for you to create a logo for them. There's people who would pay for you to create a website for them. There's people who would pay for you to cook for them. There's people who would pay for you to clean for them. There's people who will pay for you to watch their children. So what is it that you're good at? What is it that you can do easily, effortlessly, that people will pay for, and do that? Also, starting a business, like I said, is not always the easiest in the beginning. And sometimes you got to put that time and sweat equity in before you start really receiving those, the funds for all the time that you're putting in. But starting a business is definitely a way for you to generate some more money. And also maybe sometimes creating some like digital products. That can be an easy way to get some passive income, whether you create an ebooks or you create an online class. That's a way for you to just, create something once and continue to get paid for it over and over again.
Compounding interest money or compounding life choices. Which do you prefer? Now, you've talked about investing quite often, and I already know what you do, which is options. Why do you prefer options over all the other different aspects that are out there, like crypto, digital currency, EFTs, and things of that nature? Why do you choose options of there? In your personal opinion, why do you want to stay with options?
Trade options because options are a great way to be able to exponentially increase your account with a smaller amount of money. So options is essentially a contract that gives you control over 100 shares of a stock without actually owning the stock or paying for 100 shares for a stock. You just pay a small premium. So I think it's a great way to really maximize your account when you may not have a whole lot of money, right? You can possibly pay $200 and have control over 100 shares of stock, which is not a lot, right, in the grand scheme of things. So I like to use it to really, like I said, maximize my account and get my account to grow exponentially faster than I would if I was just like buying individual stocks. I still buy individual stocks, but I use option as a strategy to really grow my account a lot faster.
And do you prefer the long-term aspect or the short-term gains of options?
So I trade it. So I'm only in it for the short term. I don't have options over a long-term period of time. People do, and that's fine. But I'm only in it for like a few weeks, maybe like 2 months at most, but it's really for short term.
For those in the audience who don't know what options is, and this is their first time hearing the word options, then I saw your little one in the background. That's great. It is Christmas time. It's great. Is he going to find a present under the tree? I'm just kidding. But
not yet. The presents are going to come out like Christmas Eve, hiding them until then.
An option gives you options for Christmas, right? But if this is your first time hearing about options, you definitely need to Google that. Google is one of your best friends, right? So Google what an option is and why it can be beneficial to you for sure. Dayana, it is such a great time always having on the show and reconnecting, and then also, coaching as well. But can you tell everybody where you can be connected out and if they want to reach out to you, your socials, things of that nature?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder of Legendary Wealth Builders. So you can find me on Instagram on Facebook, and it's at Legendary Wealth Builders. You can also email me, and that is info@legendarywealthbuilders.com. I definitely look forward to hearing from you all. So make sure you look me up and ask me any question that you need.
All right. So, Tatiana, thanks so much for being a guest on the show today. And I know that Christmas is going to be really well for you with all your many options.
Thank you for having me, Tony. It's always a pleasure as usual.
Absolutely. And those who are watching this live, make sure to reach out below if you want to get out of your 9 to 5, hashtag below 9 to 5. Tatiana or one of her team will reach out to you. And again, my name is Tony. You've just watched the Mark Your Trade show, and I will look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. And as always, keep on moving up with your intentions out.